Here comes Sims. Pedaling into the paint, leaning and hitting a 10-0 run to start this game for Indiana. And Minnesota wants a timeout. Caitlin Clark knows it.
The Fever just notched their third straight win, knocking off the Lynx despite missing 5 key players, including Caitlin Clark. And in the locker room afterward, Kelsey Mitchell dropped a line that had the whole team buzzing. Her words captured exactly where Indiana's head is at heading into the playoffs. This isn't an underdog story. It's a contender statement. If you're ready for playoff basketball, drop a fired up for the Fever in the comments. Let's go.
I know a lot of people will talk about Nafisa not playing, but I think they're really good without her. You know, they're just a really great basketball team. So I think it was a big win for us because they set the bar high standard wise. We know what to expect when it comes to Minnesota Lynx, and so I think going into the playoffs, it was big for us because being able to know guarding Courtney Williams, knowing that her thing is a pull up, knowing that now instead of not knowing that, it's big for us because we give ourselves a chance. And if they are the standard, we get to see where we are.
How does a team missing 5 of its top players rattle off 3 straight wins against some of the league's toughest opponents? That's exactly what the Indiana Fever just pulled off. Only a couple of weeks ago, this squad looked finished. Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Carlson, Chloe BBY, and Ari McDonald were all sidelined. 5 rotation players gone, including Clark, the face of the league. For most teams, losing that much talent this late in the season would have been a knockout blow. The Fever had dropped 4 of their last 5 games, and their playoff hopes felt like they were slipping away. Fans started to wonder if Indiana even had enough healthy bodies to compete, let alone beat playoff-caliber teams like the Lynx. The doubt was real. It felt like all the promise of this season was on the verge of dissolving right in front of everyone. But then, everything flipped.
Yeah, one of the things that I've been impressed with these guys since even the offseason, really the ones that I was able to work out with in the offseason, is how hard they work. There's a work ethic and there's a work style. And to approach everything in the same way, to be so energetic, enthusiastic, and dedicated every day. And I felt that way in training camp too. There weren't any days where I had to bring that out of them. So I think it's the nature of the women that we brought into this organization to continue to just bust their butts and play hard.
But instead of folding, this team found a way to reinvent itself right in the middle of the season. Head coach Stephanie White drilled a simple mantra into the locker room. Be where your feet are. Those 5 words became more than just a slogan. They pushed every player to stop dwelling on who was missing and start zeroing in on who was still on the floor. It meant embracing their role, owning each moment, and finding ways to impact every single possession.
It's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up. And, these are things that you have to go through. I often say there's no substitute for experience, and the experience that these guys have had to have to continue to reinvent, to have to continue to find different ways to get back up and to play through some different struggles is not just paying us dividends this season, but as far as what it's doing for our culture, it's going to pay dividends for many years to come.
That mindset showed up right away against Minnesota. The Fever blitzed out to a 10-0 lead, setting a tone that left the Lynx on their heels. Indiana wasn't waiting around. They dictated the energy on both ends of the floor. Shots were dropping, the defense was swarming, and suddenly the narrative flipped. Instead of being overwhelmed by injuries, the Fever were the ones in control. You could see it everywhere, veterans crashing the glass, reserves diving on the floor for loose balls, every player buying into the idea that their edge had to come from competing harder on every single possession. It wasn't always polished, but it was relentless. That's the difference between a team just trying to survive and a team actually finding ways to win. And the payoff? That victory not only gave Indiana its first winning record since 2015, it stamped resilience as their new identity. Injuries didn't define them, their response did. Still, while the blueprint has been written collectively, it's also been fueled by individual players stepping into bigger roles. None more than Kelsey Mitchell, whose career season is rewriting the future of Indiana basketball. With Caitlin Clark sidelined, the question loomed: who is going to carry the Fever forward? It wasn't just about replacing Clark's numbers. It was about filling the void in leadership, scoring, and energy. That's why the win over Minnesota was so revealing. It proved Indiana's depth isn't just surviving. It's thriving when the pressure is highest. Fans worried the offense would stall without Clark and Sophie Cunningham, two shooters who stretch defenses. But instead of shrinking, the Fever leaned into their versatility and found new ways to attack.
Only 8 teams have ever done that. 7 of them went on to win the title. As Boston gets free and lays it in.
She will be on my first team.
Boston in the paint, sneaks through 2 and lays it in.
Aaliyah Boston showed she's far more than a dominant presence in the paint. She was orchestrating offense like a guard in a center's frame. She matched her own rebounding record, vacuuming up everything in her area, and every post touch forced Minnesota's defense to react. The double she drew didn't just slow her down. They opened up lanes and created looks for teammates, turning her into the hub of Indiana's attack. And then came Odyssey Sims, reminding everyone she still has plenty left to give. Off the bench, she poured in 15 points with the confidence of someone who'd been waiting for this exact moment. Afterward, she called a fresh start, summing it up perfectly. New season starts Sunday. That wasn't just a throwaway line. It captured the mindset fueling Indiana's run. Sims gave the backcourt a calming presence, controlling the tempo, managing possessions, and providing a secondary playmaker the Lynx never fully solved. Her performance reflected both her own preparation and the team's trust in her ability to deliver. And just as Minnesota tried to swing momentum back, Aerial Powers delivered the knockout punch. 2 straight three-pointers that sliced through the net and instantly silenced the Lynx's rally. In just her 8th game with the Fever, part of an ever-expanding roster thanks to all the injuries, Powers seized her moment. It was textbook execution. Natisha Heedman read the defense, drew attention inside, and found Powers spotted up on the perimeter. No hesitation. Rise, fire, bucket. Twice in a row. On the bench, Caitlin Clark jumped up in pure joy as the crowd erupted. Those shots didn't just stretch the lead. They felt like daggers. The timing, the confidence, the swagger. It all gave Indiana the breathing room they needed at the exact moment the game was hanging in the balance.
Playing in her 8th game with the Fever in their ever-expanding roster because of their injuries. Williams went for the steal. Powers sticks the jumper from 3.
That was the clear side of the floor, and Natisha Heidemann read the defense beautifully.
Howard, good position on the interior. Draws 2, kicks it out. Powers, you bet! Back-to-back 3s from Aerial Powers. Caitlin Clark, euphoric on the bench.
Lexi Hull once again showed why she's far more than just a role player. She was everywhere, switching on defense, contesting bigger forwards, and still finding ways to contribute on offense. Coaches rave about players who can guard multiple positions, and Hull's versatility has quietly become the backbone of Indiana's defense. Add in her ability to score without needing plays drawn up for her, and it's clear why she's become indispensable. Alongside her, Natasha Howard kept the front court steady with one of her most efficient outings of the year. She knocked down shots in rhythm, fought on the glass, and gave the Fever balance so Aaliyah Boston didn't have to shoulder everything inside. Whether spinning into the lane for a tough bucket or stretching the floor to pull defenders out of the paint, Howard's presence stabilized the roster when shortened rotations demanded it most. By the end of the night, the box score told the story. 5 players in double figures. That's no coincidence. It's proof of a group determined not to be defined by one star, but by a system where anyone can score, defend, and step up when needed. And even in street clothes, Caitlin Clark was in the fight, lifting energy from the bench, celebrating every big play, and making sure her teammates felt her presence every minute. But the moment that still has people buzzing didn't happen on the floor. It wasn't about a highlight or a box score line. It came later, inside the locker room. And the words that followed struck a chord with the Fever in a way that perfectly sums up this season. We'll get to exactly what was said in a moment. But first, it's worth understanding why those words carried the weight they did.
Why?
Kelsey, how much pride do you take in the fact that you started in every game now for 2 straight years, and on top of that, you're now the points per game leader in franchise history?
Man, I don't want to sound cliche, but I'm never gonna give up. I'm never gonna. If I'm able, willingly, 2 feet, 2 legs, 2 arms to play the game, because a lot of people can't, I'm gonna play. It may not, fall my way all the time, but you never have to worry about me not being present, especially if I don't have anywhere else to be. So that's just what that is. I'm never gonna not play and compete. You're never not gonna see me sit out if I don't need to. And so it's just about staying. I obviously having rhythm and being who I want to be, but I'm all about basketball when it comes to just finishing it out.
Now, Stephanie White deserves a lot of credit here too. Her standard over scoreboard mindset has shifted everything. It's about playing to their level, not the opponent's. And that has players thinking long-term instead of just chasing single wins. Rookies and fill-in starters are gaining playoff minutes now, which means this roster will be battle-tested when Clark returns. Every injury, every lineup shuffle, every gut check win has been preparing Indiana for something more. They're not just surviving this 2025 ride. They've started to build what could be a championship window. And with the playoffs about to begin, that mentality is ready for its biggest test yet. This season was supposed to be about setbacks, but instead it turned into proof of what happens when a team trusts each other and keeps growing. The Fever have faced injuries, doubt, and tough losses, yet they turned all of that into their first winning record in nearly a decade. Now comes the moment for fans to lift them even higher. Rally behind this group as they push Kelsey Mitchell's MVP campaign and chase a playoff run that felt impossible weeks ago. Even without Caitlin Clark on the floor, her presence still fuels the dream of Indiana's rise again. If you're pumped up for the playoffs, comment "Fired Up for the Fever" down below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.